What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now Plus. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about Fable being made for modern audiences, their version of the quote. So, look, this is a common thing around games, around movies. I'm not saying that 100% of the time when you say this quote immediately means your game is about to die. Not the case. Not the case. But a few weeks back, we literally did a video on the Splinter Cell remake and how Ubisoft is like making it for a modern audience. And I will say, it does lean more towards when you do say these things, normally the result is not great. People tend to not like it, but it's subjective, all of that stuff, yada, yada, yada. Let's go over the quote that was said for Fable, and I want to look at a few different things going on the internet, because I think people are making some really good points about that Fable has kind of always been a certain way, and that it's done it really, really well. He then revealed they had a particular passion for the IP, and I think they also demonstrated that they understand what the heart and soul of Fable is about and how they can bring it forward for today's sensibilities and just, you know, make a modern take on Fable. So that the sensibilities, make it for modern sensibilities. Now, I'll be honest. I mean, there's two kinds of ways of looking at this, right? There's actually a really good tweet, and let's read it really fast, from Christina, that says, Fable needs a modern take. Why? It's timeless. You could get gay married. The hero of Might was a plus-size woman. The hero of Will was a black man. The third game was literally helping the poor and stopping colonization. That Fable needs the modern audience treatment. And then it says, you know, she continues on, I'm praying this is just code for the hero is going to floss. So there are those kind of ways of looking at it, right? Where it's like, you know, are they going to lean into like the Twitch kind of audiences where there's going to be weird emotes that don't really make sense into the game? Or are they talking politics? Are they talking how the game is written at its core? We just had Saints Row make a new Saints Row game for a modern audience. And here's the deal. I know there are some people, they do exist because I have, you know, interacted with them and seen them. There are people that like the newest Saints Row. I will say, in terms of how it's crafted and how it's built with the writing and the characters, I think it is pretty awful, especially the characters and leaning into what like a new age hipster kind of vibe would be. It's atrocious. It's absolutely awful. That's my take on it. So you just had that happen. You literally just had a company make a Saints Row game in the year 2022, a game franchise that's edgy and, you know, has done some stuff in the past that probably, you could say, probably wouldn't work nowadays, right? Whenever you throw that line out, there's a danger there, right? When you say, well, man, that comedy, that the way that they're writing this, all of the different features, right? Would that even work nowadays? Would that be taken all that well? Well, when you say that, there's only a couple ways to go past it. You can, if you do like a remake or you make a new game, you either lean into it and say, hey, we don't really care how people are going to perceive it now. We're still doing it. That's the heart of the game. That's at the heart of the game. Or you say, well, I mean, was it really that important? I mean, we can just change it and kind of update it for 2022. People are different now. We have things that you're allowed to say and not allowed to say. And when you start to do that, you start to break the fundamentals potentially of the game. Now, again, that one tweet that we read out, that's a great example that Fable has always done some of this. Like, it's always been modern. It's never been diverse just for the sake of it, right? They do things just to do it, and it happened to have worked out. It's always been fine with them. So when you force things, when you write it, whether it's the script or whatever, and by the way, again, these are what ifs. These are what ifs because these aren't guaranteed to happen. They could make it good, and like the person also pointed out, it could just be some, you know, new age, the flossing and you know, those kind of emotes. It could just be that stuff. So it may not be as in there. You could see it in the comments of her thread. There are people kind of split where it's like, yeah, you know, if you're bringing it up to date in that way, you know, there's worse things that you can do. And the worst things you can do is kind of what we're talking about, right? So it's a 50-50. We'll see how it actually plays out. But the point is, when you say that stuff, it's not, and normally to me, at least how I perceive it, it means you're going to force things that didn't need to be forced. There's nothing wrong with diversity and inclusion and all this stuff. There's nothing wrong with it. In fact, you know, naturally, it should be in the game. But the point mentioned in the tweet is it always was. And a lot of times they always are. But then when you get this kind of new age stuff where the game needs to be made for the new age audiences and modern sensibility, see, to me, sensibilities is such a weird word. You don't really hear that word often when you say, like, normally it's made for modern audiences. That's the quote. When you hear we're going to remake it or we're making a new one in the franchise, but it's going to be made with modern audiences in mind. Whenever you hear that, that normally means we're going to really pick out things that kind of were natural historically. We're going to make it a really big deal. We're going to lean into it so it's so in your face that you can't get away from it. And that's because, of course, you have people saying, well, Alex, what's, maybe not to me, but, you know, in general, the discourse, well, what's the problem with diversity or inclusion? Nothing. There's nothing wrong with it. But the issue is, actually, the most we can get to being inclusive and diverse and all that stuff is for it to just be natural that these things just exist in the game. And the point is, they do exist in the game. That is part of the core. Now, yeah, does it do a little edgy, you know, Saints Row? Was it a little edgy? Fable was a little edgy? Sure. But it went after everybody. You know what I mean? Or, you know, it had a large range. If you're going to limit certain things, you're going to say, well, you can't make jokes on that, or you can make, when you start to limit jokes, or when you say, well, certain things aren't that funny anymore, or we can't touch upon them, they're being taboo. You know, that's when you run into some big issues. And again, we just got it with Saints Row. We get it continuously with movies. Movies is kind of like the golden, like, you just look to movies as to how you do it wrong. And then even games, they're starting to do it. When you hear that in games, now Saints Row is one that pops up immediately. I'm sure I could think of more if you gave me some time, but we just heard it with Splinter Cell. That's a big red flag. Now we're hearing it with Fable. I don't like to hear it. I would just kind of prefer them to keep their mouth shut. and I guess to their credit, I don't actually know who this is saying the quote. It could be like Phil Spencer or something, because it sounds like, why is it that these studios are working on it? And somebody's answering that question. So this isn't the people on the ground level, but look, you talk about making a modern day Fable game, you know that's in the pitch meeting. You know that's in the weeds of the studio, that they are making it with that in mind. So it's not a throwaway quote. It's something, whether it works, it could work out, or whether it doesn't work out, it's not a throwaway line. It's something that is engraved. It's, I don't know if it's like a message on their wall. Obviously, it doesn't have to be that extreme, but it's something that they're making the game with that in mind. So let me know what you guys think. And by the way, I guess final thing, Fable, and I've said this before, you can actually historically check. I'm not making this up. I've said countless times, Fable is my most anticipated Xbox exclusive. If I were to kind of, you know, limit it to circles, when it comes to Xbox, I'm looking forward to it more than Starfield, Redfall, all of, like, Indiana Jones, all of those games. I'm looking forward to Fable the most. Then Hellblade 2. With this quote, I'm a little shaky now on Fable, so maybe I would swap it with Hellblade 2. But so I'm not jumping on or dogpiling it just to do it. This is actually like one of my more anticipated games, and I wish the best for it. I don't want to see it ruined. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you guys are subscribed, bell icon turned on. I hope to see you all on tomorrow's video.